All right.
Okay.
Yes, whenever.
Alright. How many of you know what all those excerpts had in common? The answer is the modern day drum kit, commonly referred to as a drum set or just the drums. I just wanted to surprise y'all first. Today I would like to enlighten you with the history of the contemporary drum set and describing how it has evolved to become a staple in modern day music. I'm qualified to speak to you today not only because of hours of research I've put into this topic, but also because of the immense passion I have for this instrument that was originally inspired by Matt Johnson of the Fullerton College Music Department. I know all of us here listen to music, whether it's in our cars, at home, at work, working out, or just sitting around listening to our iPods. But did you know that aside from a few genres, most genres have the drum set featured in it? Even classical music has incorporated the drum set in its orchestral pieces. Today we'll be discussing some of the key elements of the drum set, including the basic setups, where each individual component has derived from, the individuals that have helped revolutionize its relevance in music, and how it all came together here in America. First, allow me to tell you each component in the drum set and its history. There are traditionally 8 separate pieces in the drum set. You have the snare drums here, the snare drum there. You have the floor tom, which is right there. You have the ride, which is right here, the ride cymbal. You have the crash cymbal, as well as the hi-hat, the tom-toms, and the bass drum. Each originated from different parts of the world, and it's confirmed by drummuffler.com, a respectable, innovative manufacturer of mufflers for drums and other innovative techniques towards, towards innovating different pieces of the drum set. The snare drum was invented in medieval Europe around 1300 and was originally called a tabor. It was used in battle to rally formation of troops and keep tempos of legions. This is how it found its way into America across the pond, brought over by British settlers. The toms, or floor tom, and the tom-toms, and even the bass drum have a more simplistic and cohesive history. Dating back to the beginning of our time, these simple structures can be seen in Egypt and ancient Rome. According to the California Music Educators Association, the Romans adopted the instrument from Africa and it was called a tar. And this was around 200 BC. However, there is prevalent evidence that Native Americans enjoyed percussion drums long before settlers ever came to America. The final major component in the drum kit is the cymbals. From the Chinese gong to the various types of cymbals originating from all over the world, the most famous of that is Zildjian. Zildjian, according to Andante magazine, a reputable music magazine of compilations of music theory and thoughts, the Zildjian family business was created in 1623 when the ancestor of Vetus created an alloy tin, copper, and silver that made a crash without cracking. The business and the family was named Zildjian, Turkish for the son of cymbal maker. By the 19th century, Zildjian cymbals were an important part of classical orchestras. In 1929, the company moved to the United States, and by the mid-century, it was the leading provider of an indispensable instrument for the drum set. Now that we know a little bit more about how the separate instruments came to be, let's take a look at how they came together. Up until the 20th century, all these instruments were traditionally played separate and had to have individuals on each instrument. This took up a lot of space on stages and was more costly. There's no real recorded moment when the drum set exactly came to be, only a more gradual acceptance of and popularity that started mainly in New Orleans with jazz. However, one thing as stated by Paul William Schmidt in his book History of the Ludwig Drum Company helps you get the ball rolling. This came in the form of William F. Ludwig's patent of his drum pedal mechanism around 1909 that really enabled the bass with the bass pedal to be placed in a more convenient position. The snare had already conventionally done all of its developing in Europe and was pretty much standardized by itself in various orchestral bands. Same is true for the ride and crash cymbals. Not much dramatically changed since 1623. But the modern hi-hat stand brought crashing cymbals close to the ground and were raised and could be played by hand as well, because of the foot mechanism inside of the hi-hat, which is, I don't know if you can see it illustrated just right there, in the hot orange. And this was developed around 1926 by Barney Walbury of the Drum Accessory Company in Walbury and Ogg. Prior to these two inventions, these different components were a lot harder to play together, and this allowed the bass to be put unconventionally on the floor next to the bass. Cymbals were to be moved, or the snare next to the bass, and cymbals were to be moved in, and a newly developed hi-hat system to the left, all coming together to bring forth a new kind of instrument. So if you picture these all separate before, that's pretty much how they were played. Before, the bass was, usually held up or suspended in a different way. The toms and the snare were pretty much, they were either tied around your neck or they were generally just on stands, and the cymbals could be played from the upright position as well. But aside from the radical setups, the people that had played them really popularized their presence and secured their place into modern mainstream music. Several key musicians helped modernize this drum set the way we see it used in music today. American Gene Krupa, one of the greatest jazz drummers of the big band era, featured the tom-toms prominently in his playing and established the drum set really as a featured solo instrument. Because prior to that, he had just, the drums were really seen as, they were just seen as an accompanied instrument and weren't really individualized. Baby Dodds, who also aided in transitioning the drum set into a more central arena, he helped transition it from New Orleans marching band style to more of a jazz style, and that helped popularize the instrument as well. In the 1940s, American Max Roach, another great jazz drummer and innovator, tuned his drums higher by tightening the drum heads and shifted the rhythmic emphasis from the bass drum to the cymbals, and particularly the ride cymbal. So the emphasis was mainly just on the cymbals rather than the toms or the snare or the bass. So it helped to bring different characteristics and that unique style to that drum set. And in the 1950s, American jazz drummer Louis Bellson popularized the use of two bass drums in his drum set, a technique that was revived in the 1960s by British drummers Ginger Baker of the rock trio Cream and Keith Moon. In the late 1960s, American Buddy Rich, considered one of the greatest big band drummers in jazz history, demonstrated unprecedented speed and dexterity on the drum set. I have a couple pictures of this is Gene Krupa, who is the big band jazz drummer. This is Baby Dodds. This is the one that was the one that helped transition that style from marching band style to jazz. There's Louis Bellson with the two bass drums. There's Buddy Rich. He just has amazing dexterity and coordination with his hands, moving interdependently. And that's Max Roach. And here we have William Ludwig, who helped invent who invented the bass pedal. Today I've spoken to you about the origins of the drum set and how it came together and the people that assisted in its relevance in contemporary music. I hope today I leave you all a little more enriched with the instrument that has been the heartbeat of a nation and is as diverse as its ancestral components.